Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed your break. I know that was a little vague with the bitten nails, but I wanted to add some more to this because there is something to talk about this. When we're talking about the habit of biting nails, that is usually indicative of, not always, but it's how someone has anxiety, because anxiety can look like many different things, and we all have our nervous tics. Some people do this with their hair, others inspect the split ends, some may pick at their skin or pull their hair out. But biting your nails is one of those coping mechanisms to deal with some of the stress. And it's very important not to shame the client, because I didn't like how the book wrote that. You don't want to tell them not to do something because that's going to come as very judgy. What you want to do is say, oh, well, I've seen this a lot and we can make your nails feel a lot better. And I always recommend that every salon should always have a little thing where they can refer to different therapists in the area. If you guys can even find someone who specializes in the treatment of nail biting and even like hypnotherapy, that can help. If a client ever discloses to you that they can't stop it and they're ashamed of it, you want to be very understanding and you want to try to build rapport with them and show them empathy. Don't sympathize it, empathize, connect with them on an emotional level, and you can even recommend certain types of therapy. If you know a therapist that's a friend, you can refer them to them, or a hypnotherapist, because hypnotherapy can actually help with nail biting. Nail biting also has some serious consequences. The bitten nails can get infected, they can get discolored, and there's so many different ways that it can go wrong. So that is that for bitten nails. Onychioriasis, which is going to be your split or brittle nails. These are going to have a series of ridges within the nail going lengthwise. And with these nails, it's usually caused by injury to the matrix or excessive use of cuticle removers, because it's going to dry the nail out. Cuticle removers are very caustic to the skin, and they can hurt the nail plate. So you can also cause this by harsh cleaning agents, aggressive filing techniques, or you can be predisposed to it genetically. Nail services can be performed only if the nail is not split, exposing the nail bed, because that will really hurt. Could you imagine if the nail was open and you poured acetone on that? That would be like torture. Nail enhancement products should never be applied if the nail bed is exposed. It could be corrected by softening the nails with a conditioning treatment and discontinuing the use of harsh detergents, files, and cleaners. These nail plates often lack sufficient moistures, so twice daily treatments with high quality penetrating nail oil can be very beneficial. What you don't want to do, and I know this sounds really odd, is you don't want to use nail hardeners on brittle nails because they will increase brittleness. And I know that sounds really odd because you're thinking, oh, if it's a hardener, it makes the nail stronger. But when you think about it carefully, if a nail is already too stiff, too hard, and it's breaking, if you use a nail hardener, you're going to increase that breakage by making the nail further harder. And what's going to happen is the nail will get drier, it's going to reject and push out more moisture. We don't want to use hardeners, we want to use oils, because the oils are going to go in there and help to nourish and condition the nail. And when you start to soften it, you will start to see a reduction in the ridges, because the skin the nail plate won't be as cracked and brittle because it'll be well hydrated. And you want to treat these nails very carefully. If you can discontinue the use of nail polish and a nail polish remover, please do that, because those can dry it out if you're not careful. The next type of nail is going to be the plictured nails, and these are known as folded nail, and it's going to be a highly curved nail. You usually see these on the toenails where the nail goes like this and it kind of curves in. You've got to be very careful with this, because this can lead to ingrown toenails or ingrown fingernails if you're not careful. They're caused by injury to the matrix, but it may be inherited, and it may lead to ingrown nails. So what the book is trying to say is that if you do get an injury, like not just as toe stubbing, if you get in a serious injury which causes the matrix to deform, it's going to cause that nail cell to curve as it grows out. So what you're going to see is, instead of having a nail like this, it's going to go in like that. And you want to be careful when you're working with this. So how you're cutting the nail, how you're clipping the nail, how you're going in there and filing, those all matter. So you want to be very careful with that. You also want to be very careful with the use of, what's what I'm looking for? The use of Dremels, because Dremels I'm always like on. I've never used one myself. I know some people tried it in the cosmetology class, but my teacher was not a fan of those because they were very harsh. So now on to the next one, which is nail pterygium, and this is going to be an abnormal condition where the skin is stretched by the nail plate, and the disorder is caused by a very serious injury such as a burn or adverse skin reaction to chemical nail enhancement products. The terms cuticle and pterygium do not designate the same thing, and they should never be used interchangeably. The nail petrigium is abnormal and is caused by damage to the eponychium or hyponychium. So the picture of the book, it looks kind of gross if you guys can see that. It's this fingernail that is split right here and the skin is exposed. And the way it looks is that the skin is fully healed and the nail looks like there's two separate nails growing. This is going to be serious. It's most likely going to be permanent because the matrix has been that badly damaged. So this is a case where you don't want to promise the client the world and say, oh yeah, your nail will grow back, or oh, I can fix this, because no, you can't fix this. This is one of the areas where it's going to be really rough to kind of work with a client like this and tell them that, oh, I'm kind of limited to what I can do, but it's a very important conversation to have to get it out in the open to begin with. You have to be very careful when polishing the nail, when clipping the nail when it grows out, and with filing, because that can cause more damage and more splitting, especially in this picture where the skin is clearly exposed. You don't want to treat nail petrigium and never push the extension of skin back with an instrument. Doing so will cause more injury to the tissues and make the condition worse. The gentle massage of conditioning oils and creams into the afflicted areas may be beneficial. If the condition becomes irritated, painful, or shows sign of infections, you want to recommend that the client see a physician for examination and proper treatment. And to be honest, if I saw someone come in with this and they had questions on this, I don't want to be the one that breaks to them and say, oh, I can't really do much. This is a case where I really want to refer them out to a physician so they can get a proper diagnosis, get a proper assessment, and get proper treatment with the physician, because I don't want to be put in that position where I have to tell them that, oh, this is pretty serious and there's not much I can do. So someone asked me something about petrigium, and it was, with petrigium, am I able to polish the nail? Am I able to do some of the regular manicures? And you can. Where it comes into play is that you really have to be careful when someone has petrigium, what you're doing for the overlay, because that skin is exposed, and any kind of glue that you're putting on there can be extremely irritating the skin, and that's something you have to be careful of. And likewise with polishing, putting acetone in the skin like that may be very painful as well. So on to ridges. My battery's a little bit low, so what I'm going to do is, so I don't seem like this is awkward, is I'm going to quickly charge my battery. I just ordered another one on Amazon, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the next 10 minutes of this, and you guys will get a 5-minute break. Alright everyone, so I am back. The battery's all charged. I'm going to finish this up in about 10 minutes, so after about 10 minutes of just kind of lecturing on this, we're going to break again, and I'm going to come back and hopefully finish off the chapter if I can. So we left off at ridges after I finished talking about petrigium, which is kind of like one of the really, a lot of students kind of cringe when they see the picture, but it is very serious, and it's very important to know what causes it and what can be done about it. Not much can be done about it in the salon or nail shop, because there are special nail salons that they make that are only nails and like pedicures. Some do nails and facials, but I digress. If you're in a full service salon, you're going to deal with a lot more of these disorders, just so you know. So the next topic is going to be ridges, and these are going to be vertical lines, just like the term says ridges. If something has a ridge, it's something that's a little bit deep. They're going to run vertically across the nail bed, which is up and down, and you typically see these in older people. This kind of comes with age, because as we age, our body ages, our cells don't function like they used to, especially if we didn't take care of ourselves while we were younger. And they can also be hereditary, so some people are more prone to ridges than others. I know a lot of smokers that are in their 70s or 80s have a lot of bad skin, hair, and nail conditions, ridges included. And you get them with older aging, you're going to find them in older clients, and unless they're very deep and weaken the nail plate, they're completely normal. So it's just something that you can treat like any other condition unless you notice that the nail is dry itself. In that case, you want to focus on moisturizing. So if you notice that something is dry and cracked, oil is going to be your best friend. On the flip side, if you notice that something is too flimsy and too soft, nail hardeners are going to be your best friend, because they're going to harden the nail and balance it out and maintain that homeostasis. So when you want to do a manicure on a client that has ridges, you want to carefully buff the nail plate to minimize the appearance, and that's going to help to remove or minimize the ridges, but you want to be very careful not to overly thin the nail plate, which can lead to additional damage and further weaken the nail plate, causing cracks and a lot of pain on the client's end. Because if you remember from our nail lecture, the nail is 100 layers about, and you can only buff so much. If you over buff, it's going to cause a lot of pain and it's going to soften the nail up, and that's going to be very detrimental. I do want to also add in there when the book mentioned the overuse of the cuticle removers can cause the condition, which is known as onyxoresis. I think I said that right. Don't do what I did when I was doing color, and I remember I was doing a client at home. We were using a high lift blonde, and this was just a hair horror story, which I'll talk about in another video. But long story short, I did not wear gloves, and I thought, oh, it's a high lift hair color, because high lift hair colors, they don't stain clothes, they come right out because there's less pigment in them. They're not going to be, they won't lighten clothing, they won't lighten skin. However, they're very caustic because they use a very strong peroxide, 40 volume, and they use a stronger amount of ammonia. Well, silly me, I got it all over my fingers, and a lot of it got my nails. My nails were in so much pain. If you can imagine this, my nail right here, I can do an indentation, it would stay. They were soft and pliable. I can almost bend them. It was so painful. The only thing that saved it was I soaked it in Redken Extreme, the protein treatment, soaked it in there, and I left it in there for about 20 minutes, and it finally rehardened the nail, but it was 2 hours of pure pain and agony because it actually softened the nail because it was very alkaline. That's what some of these nail products can do, and they can cause some serious conditions like ridges or breakage. It's very important to take good care of your nails while you're in the salon and wear gloves. So anyhow, there's also products that can help with this. There's ridge filler, which is less damaging to the natural nail plate, and it can be used with a colored polish to give a smooth appearance while keeping the nail plate strong and healthy. When you hear that term ridge filler, think of it like this. If there's ridges in there, like little indentations, this is the nail and this is a ridge right here. The ridge filler is going to go in there. It's going to fill that ridge up. You're going to then do your buffing before, do the ridge filler, and then you're going to polish over it. And when you polish it, it's going to put a protective coating over it, and that's going to give the nail a nice, healthy appearance. After the polish is dry, I always recommend doing a paraffin wax treatment to kind of moisturize the skin on everything, because older clients typically have dry skin issues, and that's another way to sell your product and increase your money in the salon. The last disorder that we're going to talk about in this section is going to be called splinter hemorrhages. It sounds very painful because it is very painful. These are going to be caused by physical trauma or injury to the nail bed and damage the capillaries, and that's going to allow small amounts of blood to flow. As a result, you're going to get blood stains on the bed epithelium tissue, and that forms rails to guide the nail plate along the nail bed during growth. The blood will oxidize and turn brown or black, giving the appearance of small splinters underneath the nail plate. Splinter hemorrhages will always be positioned lengthwise in the directions of growth, pointing toward the front and back of the nail plate, because this is how the bed epithelium rail grow. So know that they're going to be the way the nail shape is growing is going to be the way the splinter shows itself. It's going to look like a vertical line. Splinter hemorrhages are normal, and they're usually associated with some type of hard impact or other physical trauma to the fingernail or toenail. So depending on where you break the capillary, the blood's going to flow out that way. It's going to oxidize that way is what that means. It's going to be very similar to the white spots, but they're going to be a really dark color, and it's going to be painful to touch if the splinter hemorrhage is that deep. Best way to prevent this is to obviously prevent serious trauma to the nail. You want to educate your client and tell them to take it easy. I would not recommend that you give someone a very strong massage with a splinter hemorrhage because it's going to be very painful, but rather have them, this is how you can get around that too, so you don't spread bloodborne pathogens. Take a disposable bag, and I always say to invest in these if you're doing freelance too. Get your paraffin wax, heat up your wax, give them a gentle massage, try to avoid the nail area, and educate them on why you're avoiding that because you don't want to further splatter the blood in there. You might need to wear gloves if they're having, if you think there's going to be a risk of a bloodborne pathogen. Even if there's dried blood, you just want to be very careful. Fill the plastic handbag, take a ladle, and gently put a small amount, and always have the client test a small amount on their hand first so it's not too hot, of medium temperature paraffin wax. Wrap the gloves around there, put a pair of mitts over them. That keeps it warm. This will help the skin to get nourished and healthy again, because what the paraffin's going to do, if you do a massage treatment, it's going to bake it in there from the heat, and then you can go out, peel the paraffin off, and that will help their skin to get blood flow and hopefully help circulate some of the damage out of it. So what we're going to do is we might have to break in between this. I'm going to segue into the next topic, which is increased curvature nails, and this has to do with some of the shape of the matrix causing abnormalities in the shape of the nail. The picture of the trumpet nail is very uncomfortable to look at, and it's very uncomfortable for the client. Extreme care must be taken when you're cutting curved nails, because if the nail is curved and you go in there sharp, you can cause a lot of pain and a lot of damage, and if the nail is already brittle and weak, you can cause a split, causing extreme pain and bleeding. So you want to know that nail plates with a deep or sharp curvature at the free edge have the shape because of the matrix. The greater the curvature of the matrix, it's going to cause a greater curve of the free edge. So what that means is the matrix underneath, if that's heavily curved, your nail is going to grow out and it may look like it's pointy or kind of shaped like that trumpet shape, and it's going to be really rough. You tend to see this a lot too with the toenails. I've had a friend that had a nail that was almost risen up and it was very painful. And one time she actually had the nail come off because it was slightly lifted. She accidentally kicked something, and because it was like this, it went very painful. There's not much you can do about this in the salon because of, obviously, we can't change the client's matrix shape. That's beyond legal and barely possible. They want to go to a podiatrist, which a podiatrist, just like a dermatologist, was an MD that had extra training. This might be on one of your tests. The podiatrist is going to be your regular MD, but they have extra treatment and extra training, extra training in the area of nail care, feet. Some of them may even work on fingernails. And that's what makes them different than a dermatologist and MD. It's an MD with all the same training, but just additional training and experience. So I'm going to end this here, and I'm going to come back and we're going to finish out the increased curvature nails, nail infections. We're going to differentiate what is a mold infection, what is a bacterial infection, and then we're going to talk about some diseases, and we're going to see how much we can get covered there, but I'll be right back.